Hey everyone, this is Jesse, and you're listening to a B-side episode of Setlists And Brews. On these special episodes, we step outside the Springsteen universe and shine a light on the artists, stories, and passions that bring people joy. Not every guest is a Bruce fan, and that's the fun of it. Today's conversation is all about music, memories, or creative spark that moves them. Every joy counts, and every fan has something worth sharing. So settle in, enjoy this detour down a different musical highway. Let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Setlists And Brews, your podcast all about Bruce Springsteen, his music, and mostly his fans. I am your host, Jesse Jackson. We are getting off the Springsteen train, though I'm sure he will come up. And if you know me, you know I am passionate about many things, but Hallmark movies, I am unapologetically love them. Whether they're good, bad, sappy, doesn't matter. Every Saturday, I'm sitting there recording the Hallmark movie, and I love music. I do a podcast about music. Today, I get to add both peanut butter and chocolate. Cece, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
So tell my audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, I met you through a Hallmark group on Facebook, which oddly enough, I'm not I don't think I'm the Hallmark demographic or the market they're really trying to pursue, but for some reason a few years ago, I love a bit. I'm here for the bits. And so
Yes.
I one year was just like, you know what's so stupid? Those Hallmark Christmas movies. I'm gonna watch all 40. All 40. They're premiering 40 of them and I'm just going to watch them all because it's stupid and it's funny and I'll like write my little critiques on my Facebook page or my Instagram and I ended up like just finding them so comforting. They, if nothing else, it's like a warm blanket that I'm not like a warm blanket, so maybe it's like the contrast of like who I am as a person and the people in the Hallmark movies are not like me. So I think I find it just like comforting to watch them. So and then I got really into the Deck the Hallmark podcast because I really understood Dan as a person, I think. I started like messaging him on Twitter back when I was on Twitter. And so that kind of blossomed into like a little internet friendship and I joined the Facebook group and then everything since then it's been wonderful. It's just like a great community and it really is, as they say, the best little corner of the internet. So I love my Hallmark friends.
Yeah, I am a brand new member. I remember growing up, and I promised listeners we're going to talk music in a minute. So, I grew up Hallmark Hall of Fame. I can remember being a kid and watching those, and they were always so special. And also the really good Hallmark commercials that were on the Hallmark Hall of Fame, right?
Hmm.
And I remember picking it up, and I graduated high school in 77, so I'm older than dirt. And I grew up on Disney movies where everything was a happy ending,
Yeah.
right? And I explained to my wife, it is something comforting to watch, and especially older ones, there were so much cliche. You knew there was going to be a
Hmm.
misunderstanding. You knew there was like they're going to overhear a conversation and they're going to get it really wrong. I remember a critic said, I can't stand a movie that the plot would be totally resolved if the two people would just talk to each other,
Right.
right? And but there is this comfort. And then over the past years, Hallmark has stepped up their game and they have made better movies. They still make some crappy ones, and it's fun to laugh at them. And I will admit, every once in a while, there's one like, I'm just not going to finish this one. Like, I'll just skip on. So it's fun. And one of the things I'm really proud of Set Lessing Bruce is we've we have a community of other Springsteen fans and other musicians, and we speak the same language and we talk and we share. And so I was excited to join this. I'd been listening to the podcast for a while, finally said, how much is this? Okay, you know what? I'm going to take the plunge. And if it doesn't work out, okay, fine. And it's just been lovely. It's been just a
Mhm.
lovely experience.
Yeah, it's a really great group of people.
Yeah. All right. So I always like to start at the beginning, Cece. So tell me, where did you grow up and what kind
Mhm.
of music was your family listening to?
So I
Mm.
grew up about 15 minutes outside of DC, and I've lived here for most of my life. I left for a little while to go away to school, but I'm back here now. So my dad, when I was a kid, he was listening to a lot of his favorite band of all time was ZZ Top. He liked a lot of Southern rock. He loved the Eagles, Creedence Clearwater Revival, but also he would listen to a lot of like blues and R&B, BB King. He loved Rufus and Shaka Khan. That was like one of his favorites. Sam and Dave. And then he also would sprinkle in some like Zydeco music. He grew up in Florida, so I think like that area. I think he was just into all different kinds of things. And then my mom didn't really wasn't really never really into music that much, more like the show tunes, the Barry Manilows of it all, like the Rat Pack type stuff, but she wasn't like going out to the record store with me and my dad buying
Hmm.
records. And so yeah,
Were
that's
you, did you love, did you like your dad's music?
I think at the time I did not like I was just not into it. Maybe the Eagles a little bit, and like my I have two older brothers, they were really into the Beatles, and I think I like dipped my toes into that, but it was never, I just knew when I was young, I just knew this that wasn't like for me. It was for
Hmm.
them and it wasn't for me. I was always, as a kid, I was always like I guess just like intrigued by Black culture, probably living so close to DC and just a super diverse elementary school, super diverse neighborhood. So I was just always like more going for like one. I think my first record I bought was Purple Rain, was the soundtrack to Purple Rain. I for 4.99. I remember going in with my $5 bill. I was so excited that I had $5 to go buy an album. And so I was really into Michael Jackson and Prince and Tina Turner, New Edition. That was like more what I was listening to as a kid. And then my family, yeah, we're really into classic rock.
So one of the things that I found, just like there's patterns in Hallmark movies, one of the patterns I've seen in this podcast, Cece, is I find there's generally speaking two kinds of guests. The ones that liked their parents' music, and then as they got older, their taste expanded and they kind of found their own music, or the ones that maybe tolerated their parents' music. And then when they got 30, they go, oh, you know, ZZ Top actually, dad may have had something a little bit there, right?
Yeah, right. True. True. I definitely, in retrospect, a lot of what he like stayed with me. It just wasn't, I never reached for it until I still don't really reach for it, but
Yeah.
I will enjoy maybe ZZ Top is the one that I do reach for more of anybody. That will be
Yeah.
the one I would look up on Spotify and go after that. But yeah.
Who, what musical artist did speak to you first that you went, this is mine? This
Right.
isn't my parents. This is
Yeah.
mine.
I think that so we had a radio station here in the DC area. It was closer to Baltimore. So you could only get it, you could only get that radio station in certain rooms in the house. So you had to hold the, you might have to hold your boom box a certain way. But there was a radio station called WHFS. And that was my first exposure to like the Smiths, The Cure, REM. And I was like, oh, this is the stuff for me. This is where I fit in the world. And I was always drawn to like things on the periphery. I would see like we'd drive through DC and I'd see like a punk rock kid with like a mohawk and I'd be like, yeah, yeah, that's what I want to do. That's how I want to look, which to my parents was probably crazy because they were like very like entrenched in the federal government work,
Yeah.
definitely like in that whole like suburbia trying to,
White
have like
bread.
yeah, like
Yeah.
dinner parties
Yeah.
and like keeping up with the Joneses kind of thing. Although I don't think they were ever really the people to compare themselves to others, they were
Yeah.
definitely like had a lifestyle that they wanted for themselves and their family that didn't involve the daughter with the mohawk. So I think they were like whoa, what is she doing? So I would stay up, I'd set the VCR to tape 120 minutes on MTV, which came on like Sunday nights at midnight, midnight to 2. I learned about the church and the cult and these really cool bands. And I was just like, that's the stuff I want to be into. And it kind of grew from there into like just anything that was on the periphery. I would watch like Yo MTV Raps. I was into like I didn't even want to listen to like the rap that, the young MCs and like the things that people were listening to on the radio, Tone Loc and stuff. I wanted to listen to like Public Enemy. I wanted to listen to Dead Prez. I wanted to listen to anybody that was talking about politics. I think in the DC area, it's really hard to get away from politics.
Sure.
It's hard for me to imagine like growing up and not knowing about politics or not caring about politics or not just like knowing what was going on in the government because everyone here talks about it all the time. And our newscast would start at like 4 p.m. and I'd go to like visit my cousins and stuff. And I'd be like, why isn't the news on? And they'd be
Hmm.
like, the news doesn't come on till like 7 p.m. with like Tom Brokaw. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, like we watch it all the time. We're thinking about it and talking about it all the time. So I think just the anything that had like a political message, I was really interested in. And then I think when I rented this movie called Suburbia, directed by Penelope Spheris, who did like those Decline of the Western Civilization movies.
Okay.
And so it was like just a movie about these punk rock kids. It's from 1983, but I don't think I got my hands on it till the late 80s. And when I saw that movie and I saw these punk rock kids and like the music they were listening to and the shows they were going to, then I started like hanging out with like some skateboarders and going to hardcore shows and punk shows. And that was the other place where I felt like I fit in. If it was like either about politics or just about kind of like working class values, saying F you to the man, that was all my cup of tea. And then like British stuff like The Cure and XTC and all this, the Smiths. So,
So, so Cece, can you articulate why you think that spoke to you?
I'm not sure. I just always felt like it was part of my personality. And I don't know why. I don't know if like when I was a kid, a lot of my friends were just like diverse and black and like their parents were very liberal and my parents weren't. My parents were just kind of like centrist
Okay.
politics and very like middle of the road. So I don't know if it was like I never felt like, oh, I got to rebel against my parents and their ways because I love my parents. We've always had a super like not dysfunctional family, a
Yeah.
very functional family. So it's not like I wanted to rebel against them or anything, any trauma. It just was like this is just I want to be different than everybody else. I think was at the heart of it. And then when I started like I just was very much like I don't want to listen to songs that are about like I wish this guy loved me or I'd love this girl and whatever like love songs or just songs about going to the
Yeah.
club or what anything. I was just like I want to listen to a song that's about like this is why I'm straight edge. This is why I don't drink and I don't smoke because I got to stay clear-headed. It was just like a lot of like things in the hardcore punk culture like it really
Mm.
spoke to me. I don't know.
Were you a big reader growing up?
I don't think I've ever been a big reader
Okay.
ever in my life. I mean,
How
yeah,
about
I don't think
films?
films, yes. Now
Okay.
films is like that's my jam. So I was always I think from an early age, I also was there was a theater that used to be in Georgetown in DC called the Key Theater, and they were just always playing like offbeat movies, independent movies, documentaries, foreign films, and so I always was drawn to those films. So I don't know if it was just that like we'd go to rent movies and I'd always rent some weird thing and everybody would be like, "What are you like we each get to pick a movie. We should all pick something that everybody wants to watch." And it's like, well, I don't want to watch Die Hard, for the 10th
Yeah.
time. I was like, I always remember that in my childhood, the only movies we really like got along about was like Back to the Future. We could all
Mm.
watch Back to the Future any day, like Ghostbusters, Back to the Future. But otherwise, I wanted to watch like, let's watch this movie about like Sun City. Let's watch this movie about, the civil rights Martin Luther King
Hmm.
Jr., Malcolm X, like let's watch these movies. And people were like, my family was like,
Hmm.
no, no.
What did you, after you graduated, did you go to college and what did you study?
I went to undergrad at Virginia Tech and I studied political science. So, and then I minored in Black Studies, which is like, I think they call it like African American Studies now, but it was called
Hmm.
Black Studies back then. And I minored in history. So I just wanted to, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but I was pretty sure I wanted to go to law school,
Hmm.
which is just funny considering now I work at a grocery store. But
Did you
yeah,
go to law school?
I did go to law school. I went to Temple University in Philadelphia. So I passed the bar exam in New Jersey. So see there, I know about Bruce.
Yeah, you
Um,
did. I bet. Yes.
I know a little bit because definitely like when you move to Philly, it's like if you don't know Bruce's music, you're gonna hear it on the radio. Like it's
Yes.
on. There's a station playing Bruce like all the time. So yeah, so I did learn a lot about Philly culture and Jersey.
I felt the same way when I moved to Texas. I grew up in a family that did not follow sports at all.
Hmm.
And I've shared this. My family was all about country music. And in
Hmm.
fact, when I was 10, I could not name all four Beatles. My cousins were shocked. Like, how the hell can you not know? So this is like
Yeah,
68, 69. I was like, well, because we're listening to Merle Haggard and Charlie
yeah,
Pride. But when I moved to Texas, sports, I mean, just it was in the atmosphere.
yeah.
You were immersed in it. How much and the This was back when there was the Southwest Conference and all these different Texas schools all had this, allegiance. So that's very cool. You mentioned your parents were more centralist, were and you led to the more of the liberal side. Is that
Hmm.
something politically you still are?
Yeah, I would say like I almost go against the grain of where people think like the older you get, the
Yeah,
more conservative you're gonna get. I don't know if it's because of where we're going as a society. I think
yeah,
that partially plays into it. I think maybe if we weren't always doing things as a society to make life harder for poor people, I would probably not feel the way I do, but I definitely like have become more like into socialism and like just a lot of really far to the left wing if you really got down to it and talked to me for
Mhm.
a while about politics. So I think even my friends who are pretty liberal are like, you are really out there, dude. But that's
I
just
have some of the same things that, my friends that grew up with me and my adult friends are like, has Jesse always been this liberal? And Linda's like, yeah, Linda's my wife,
yeah.
but he has gotten a little more extreme over the past few years, and this isn't a political podcast, but yeah, it is kind of when you see some of the things they want to do, you kind of,
Hmm.
well, that just doesn't make sense. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just, yeah, it just truly is.
It's very hard like to still talk like I'm a caregiver. My mom's 84 and it's just kind of like a lot of times it's just like, well, why don't you just like get a government job or why don't you just like do this or why don't you just do that? Like I think back in the day, it was like very easy to just like network with people and just get where you wanted to go
Yeah,
in life. It was very easy to buy a home, things like that. I'm just at the point where it's now like, I don't want to get too political, but it's like, I'll never own a home. I'll never do all these things I thought I was going to be able to do because like our laws and stuff have made it impossible for people like me to like get where, and I say people like me, like as if I don't have a law degree and I couldn't change my path, but it's not, so once I was in there, that wasn't something I wanted to do. I think again, just like when I was a kid and it was like, this is not for me. This is not where I want to be. I don't want to be with these people who have suits on, who are buttoned
yeah,
up. And like, I would come into work. I worked in DC with a law firm that was working on some like very high profile cases. And I would come in with like a streak of green in my hair and people would be like, ew, like what's wrong with you? And it's just like, well, this is just one little piece, like one little chunk of hair. Like it's really
yeah.
not a big deal. And so just seeing people react to like any way I tried to express myself that wasn't, a business suit and heels I just like, even if I wore, yeah, like comfortable shoes, my gosh. So yeah, I just knew it wasn't going to be for me.
I got my first management job and I worked in customer service and it's a call center. So no one saw us, but you still had to wear a tie to work.
Oh my gosh.
And I started collecting funny ties, like a Bugs Bunny tie
Right.
or an Elizabeth Taylor. I found an Elizabeth Taylor cat on a hot tin roof, tie. I just, a Beatles tie. I wore
Right.
different. And the VP I worked for said, well, now that you're a manager, you can't wear those kind of ties anymore.
Oh
It
my
sends the
goodness.
wrong message. And once I got under a different manager, I asked him and he said, I don't care what
Yeah.
tie you wear. No. And it is, I was not, I was very, white bread, just
Mm-hmm.
very, my dad was in the military, just a very, middle class, lower middle class family. But you remind me, my wife, Linda's friend Lisa, that I met Linda like a couple of years out of her high school and mine. And Lisa was the one that knew bands no one heard of,
Mm-hmm.
was subscription to magazines from New York, right? With
Mm-hmm.
all this different stuff. And so and you know, and I grew up with AM radio. And Lisa's this, like, as you're talking about all these bands and everything, it just, there is that. And Lisa is like a double major, statistics and mathematics. I mean, she's incredibly intelligent, but she was always just slightly different. And I don't mean that
Mm-hmm.
in a bad way, she did her own path. So that's kind of
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you talked about a couple of the bands you really loved about. So why don't you share, and dealer's choice, whichever one you
Right.
do. I'd love to hear, pick a couple and talk about when you discovered them and what about them spoke to you.
Okay. So some of these I wrote down the bands that I've seen live the most because I
Okay.
am like a live music. If I don't go to at least 12 concerts a year or 12 punk shows or whatever,
Yeah.
if I'm not going once a month, I'm not happy. So
Okay.
I would say the band I have seen the most,
Hmm.
which is not very in step with anything about me, is Barenaked Ladies.
Ah,
And
nice.
yeah, what happened there was I had just graduated from law school. I didn't have a job yet. I was just like prepping for the bar exam. And my cousin, who is she's a lot like me. We're a lot like when we're together, we talk and people assume we're like sisters or twins or whatever because we talk alike and we act alike. But she's very into I think I influenced her a little bit, like she's very into REM, a lot of alternative bands, but she had been taken to a Bare Naked Ladies concert and fell in love. And so she was I must have been about 24, so she was probably 18, 19,
Okay.
and she wanted to go to three concerts, to three Bare Naked Ladies concerts in a row. Jones Beach, New York, Holmdel, New Jersey, and Meriwether Post, which is right near Baltimore down here. So she lives in Pennsylvania. So she said, my mom's not gonna let me do this by myself. My friend can't do this with me. And my mom wouldn't also trust me with her because she's also just like 18 or 19. Will you go to these concerts with me? I'll split the price of your tickets. I just need somebody to go with me and who can drive and my mom trusts. And so we took her mom's minivan and we went to these three shows. And by the end of those 3 nights, I was fully obsessed and just like they're so in that time period, this was the summer of 2001. In that time period, Bare Naked Ladies were kind of at the height of it was almost like you felt like you were going to a comedy show with music. Like they had banter that was out of this world. They had been together for almost 20 years at that point, I think, maybe 15. But they just had great banter with each other. They were always improvising songs. You could yell out things like And they just did a lot of improv. They would start with like a bass line and just make up a song off the top of their heads as they went with jokes. It was like bits. It was just like bits with music. And they were so fun. And people would bring signs like it was WWE. Like
Hmm.
people would make big cardboard signs, like hold them up and like say funny things on them. So by the third concert, we were making signs. We were like making them laugh. I think the third concert, the day before, Ed, who's the one singer of Barenaked Ladies, who's the one who's still with the band, he made a joke about like why they didn't have any blueberry muffins backstage, and they asked them for muffins, but they are only corn muffins, and just like isn't blueberry the standard muffin? And so the next night I threw an Otis Spunkmeyer blueberry muffin on stage, and he took it and he put it on like the tuners of his guitar and like just face down. And he's like, I don't know why this girl out there just threw me this muffin, but blueberry muffins. And I was just like, oh, okay. Like they acknowledge their fans.
Yeah.
They're just like going with everything we do. And it was just so fun that we bought tickets for the next night. So we drove 4 hours down to Virginia Beach and went to see them 4 nights in a row, and I was just hooked. And since between the summer of 2001 and when their other singer, Stephen Page, he left the band in 2009. So I think I saw them like about 80 times in that like 7 or 8 year period. There was one tour where I think I went to like 6 or 7 shows. That tour was really cool because it was called the Peep Show Tour. And they played every song from every album throughout the course of the tour. Every night they would play like the next two tracks on the album. So they had like 6 or 7 albums. So they play like songs 1 and 2 from one album, 3 and 4 from the next album. And so if you just kept going night after night, eventually you'd hear the whole album of like 5 or 6 albums. It was crazy.
Wow,
It was very cool.
that's very cool.
It was so cool. And they also had question and answer sessions in
Hmm.
the middle of the concert. And so you could just go up to a mic. So I think like Barenaked Ladies also, back in the day, used to come out after every concert. You would like line up, everybody would line up by their tour buses and they just come out after every show, talk to everybody. So I think the one night I was like, please answer my question tomorrow, like call on me. So they were like, oh, that girl over there. And I went up, I don't even remember what the question was I asked. It was probably something dumb, but just the fact that they remembered me from the day before and were like, oh yeah, we want to hear your question. It was just really cool. It was,
What
they're very cool
about
band.
how big of a venue is this at this time?
I think it was like they weren't like arenas, especially that tour was in the winter.
Yeah.
So it was nothing like outdoor like amphitheaters or arenas, but they were like the standard like opera house type shows, like
Oh,
medium sized, I would say like
okay.
venues. So they were pretty big shows.
Well, I love the story. I often joke there's there's two kinds of people. The people who go to their first Bruce show and go, "Wow, that was long." And then the ones that go to the one and go, "Oh my God, what is this? And when
Right.
can I go again?" And
Mm-hmm.
so I love that, you're an example of somebody else, right? Like, "Oh my God, this was amazing.
Yeah.
How can I get another shot of this?"
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And it was definitely like, I know that tour made my cousin pretty upset because I think she was back in classes. And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm going to 6 nights in a row. And she was like, I'm only going to two.
Yeah.
So, but then when there just was like, unfortunately, there was like a magic loss when Steven left the band. So
Hmm.
that was back in like 2009. But since he left the band, I think I've seen him solo probably 15 or 20 times. I
Okay.
really actually feel like he came into his own, which like a lot of people when they leave a band and they do their solo stuff, like I'm looking at you, Oasis, just not as
Yeah.
good, just not the same. And he got even better. I really think as like a songwriter, he's just amazing now. So
Hmm.
I've seen him a million times.
Do I am very jealous of seeing that, you know, that's where this name of this podcast came from, is because, I get asked, are you got some kind of sexual thing, set lusting? What does that mean? And I explained to him, I said, Bruce is someone who often changes his set list, and people on social media post what he's playing. And if you're following along, instead of set listing, you start set lusting, like, oh
Right.
shit, I can't believe he's doing that song and I'm not there because that's
Yeah.
the song I've been chasing. So pretty cool to get a show that, okay, I'm going to get these obscure
Mm-hmm.
songs that aren't always there. That must have been fun.
It's really cool too because now during COVID, Stephen Page started doing solo shows on Zoom
Yeah.
called like Stephen Page Live from Home. And through the course of I think we're on 140 something now because he
Wow.
did them every Saturday during like lockdown. And now he does them once a month. And so it's been, a few years now. So it's like 140 something shows. And I think he's played everything in the Barenaked Ladies catalog, even the songs that like he didn't write or didn't sing. I
Hmm.
think I think he has a couple left, and I think he's gonna hit them on next week or 2 weeks from now. He's finally gonna do like everything in their catalog he will have done on those shows, which is also really cool because even if it's not Barenaked Lady, just like the fact of getting to see, I'm sure somebody tracks them somewhere, everything that,
Hmm. Yeah.
setlist.fm or whatever, but just everything you've ever heard. Which actually brings me to another thing because I wanted to talk about this because of the set lusting. I knew immediately what it meant because I lust after things.
Yeah.
Uh,
Good.
one of the other bands that I have seen, I've maybe only seen them 15 times, I think 10 or 15, is the Avett Brothers. And they have a gem of a human being. His name is Tim Mossberger, and he tracks everything on a database. He, you can put in which concerts you've attended, and it will tell you what songs you've heard, how many times you've heard them. It will break it down by albums. You've seen 75% of this album, 42% of this album. It's so cool. He has a database called November Blue, and it's just really cool. And I just think he deserves a shout out for being obviously a set luster like us.
Yeah.
Yeah, just it's really cool that he does that. And I'm just like, that's the easiest way for me to be. When I first started seeing them, sometimes I'd be like, this is my Chase song. And then I like looked at his database and I'm like, oh, I heard that one of the first couple times. I just didn't know I loved that song yet.
Hmm.
So now it's like, well, it's now my again Chase song. I want to hear it again. But
Yeah.
it's just really cool.
So there is a podcast, there is a website called My Boss Time,
Hmm.
which is exactly the same thing.
Oh, that's so cool.
He has every Bruce show all the way back to the 70s.
Mm,
And what you do is you create your profile for free and you go and you pick which, oh, I was at this show, I was at this show. And then, then they do a database and it says,
super cool.
here are your most rare songs. These
Yeah.
are the songs that, he doesn't play that often that you've heard. Here's your most heard song. Yeah, and I do think that I was at a show the last time I've seen him live, not counting the little two songs he did at a symposium I went to, was in Columbus.
Hmm.
And he played, oh, why am I drawing a blank? He played a song that I was like, oh, it's from Born in USA. Okay. Nah, I'm going down, I think. And I'm
Right.
like, so what? And then I realized afterwards it was the only song from Born in the USA I'd never heard live.
Oh,
And I'm like,
wow.
holy shit, why didn't I realize that? Yeah, and I checked off an album, you
That's so
know?
exciting.
Yeah, that is really fun. The I also love the fact that one of the things because I usually ask my guests, you know, the amount of times you've seen a band live is not a
Hmm.
fair barometer of how big of a fan you are. There are
Right.
plenty of people that have never gotten a chance to see their favorite artist, but are still massive fans. I
Yeah.
said, but if you're someone who does count how many, and often the number is preceded with
Yeah.
only 15, only 80,
Yeah.
only 100, only
Right.
200, right? Because we love that.
Yeah.
Now, do you get a little bit of crap from people going, how can you go see one band so many times?
There's definitely people who will go, like, haven't you heard all the songs? Haven't you seen it all? Haven't you done it enough times? So, is it like in my family, they're like,
Yeah,
definitely, I think my parents at some point in time think you're like, aren't you wasting a lot of money on this? And so it's like, it's not for me, it's almost not like I love the tracking. I love hearing a song I haven't heard before. I love the excitement of that. in Barenaked Ladies world, a lot of it back in the day, not so much now because a lot of people have moved on, but a lot of it was about community. Like a lot of it was you get to the venue at 10 a.m. and you just hang out in the parking lot with a bunch of people you know.
Yeah.
So it's not just about, or it's like fan meetups, like, hey, we're all gonna, I think I've seen Barenaked Ladies so many places, but like when they played New Year's Eve in Chicago one time, it's like, oh, we're all gonna go to Mario's East. We've never had deep dish pizza, like things like that. So it's like, you know, 50 people you know from the internet all like jamming into a pizza place and taking it over and like getting to meet the people you have met. It's a lot like why I like the Deck the Hallmark community too. It's like
Yeah,
just
it
all kinds of
really is,
people.
right? That I remember I was going to Nashville to see the Bruce show, and we had made arrangements to meet at a restaurant. And so my wife, who doesn't get this, she does now, but at the time, and this is before I was doing a podcast or anything, said, "Aren't you afraid to meet these people?" I mean, and I said, "Well, first off, I think they're all women. And so shouldn't they be afraid of like, who's this guy I'm meeting?" I said, "No, but they're Bruce fans." And so
Yeah.
sure enough, we had known each other via Twitter,
Hmm.
back before Twitter was not what it is now.
Right.
I would be off Twitter if I didn't have a podcast to promote. And, and it was just lovely because you have this common thing.
Yeah.
And I honestly can say uh, maybe one or two people that I've run into at a Springsteen show, I go, ooh, I don't care for this. So we were at
Yeah.
a Little Steven concert here in Dallas, and his Disciples of Soul. And we were in the lobby, and this couple that lived in Fort Worth came over and, hey, Jesse, how are you doing? And so I'm introducing him to my wife, Linda, and we're talking. And this was when Springsteen on Broadway was happening. And Nancy was saying, no, no, I'm, I don't want to know anything about it. I want to go in totally, spoiler free. And, Linda's like, oh, well, how many times have you seen Bruce? And she's like, 80. And,
Hmm.
and Jeff, her husband's talking. And so when we get to our seats, we say goodbye and we get to our seats. Linda's like, they're so normal. I said,
Yeah.
yes, they're,
Yeah.
yes. She goes, I would like hanging out with them. She goes,
Yeah.
and but they've seen like tons more than you. I'm like, yes. I said, not everyone is crazy. We just are passionate about that.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm going to ask you nicely
Hmm.
and do not feel obligated, but I, I have I love Jason Isbell. He's my
Hmm.
new obsession. And other people have said that the Everett brothers are someone that I should get into.
Yeah.
So in your free time, I would love here's 10 or 20 songs, Jesse, or here's an album here is a really good entry level. Here's this is a gateway drug, right? The gateway
Right.
list to get you started.
Yeah.
Because I'll listen to the Sirius XM Americana channel
Yeah.
and I'll hear a song and like, oh, that's them. I need to check them out because I like that.
Yeah, I would definitely I'm pretty sure I've made a Spotify playlist for
Okay.
so in the Deck the Hallmark group, back to Deck the Hallmark for two
Hmm.
seconds. That's where I met my boyfriend who lives in
Hmm.
Wisconsin and I live in DC. And he's very into we met because we both love Hallmark and horror.
Okay.
And he's one of the only people in that group that loves horror movies. So I made him like a couple different companion. The probably the band I've seen the second most of Bare Naked Ladies is the Decemberists. So I made him a Decemberist primer and like beginning Avett Brothers. I think I made him like two or three, just like here's
Okay.
the songs I think you should listen to. The thing with all these bands is like even though they don't like there's, a lot I love about like Rage Against the Machine, Public Enemy, like groups that are super political. These groups in the same way are like like they have lyrics that are like just chock full of great values. So I don't see it like a lot of people are like, oh, like you like punk music and then you like the Avett Brothers. And it's like, yeah, well, the punk music I like has great values and then the Avett Brothers have great values.
Yeah.
They just have a lot of lyrics that are just like beautifully written about like family and friendship and just why we're here on Earth. So I definitely can give you a list of songs that will make you like, wow.
Okay,
I
good.
think like lyrically, they're just beautiful lyricists. And
Well,
that's what I really
I'd love to do that, and then if we can, I'd love you to come back and we talk about it, right? Like and discuss it.
absolutely.
Yeah. Any chance you've heard Bruce's new protest song?
No, but a couple people have sent it to me and I just haven't listened to it yet. And I was
That's
like,
okay.
I thought
That's
about
okay.
it today. It's like, I got to listen to that before this podcast tonight.
Yeah.
And then I never did.
He announced the new tour, and in the announcement he said, it's the Land of Hope and Dreams, No Kings tour.
Yeah.
So yeah, so he's speaking out, which
Yeah.
is which we
He
need
always
to do.
has, you know?
Yeah, he really has. Have you ever seen him live?
I've never seen him live. I've gone to show like I just never I think I've like thought about it or try. At one point I'm pretty sure I tried to get tickets
Okay.
and it was just either like sold out so quick or
Yeah.
just way too expensive. It's
Yeah.
one of those things where I was just like, okay, no. I'm
Yeah.
just not gonna do it. But I do like really respect him as an artist and I
Yeah.
do think he gets it. Like I
Yeah.
just say some people just get it. He
Yeah.
gets it. He sees what's going on in the world
Yeah.
and he's going to talk about it and he
Yeah.
doesn't care what they say on Fox News about it.
No. And
Yeah.
it was really cool when Tom Morello, played with the band for a while.
Mhm.
I went to two or three shows with Tom playing, guitar, and it's really cool. Yeah, if you get a chance this tour this spring and summer, I know he is coming to, I think the end of the tour is there at the Nationals baseball park.
Oh, okay.
And so yeah, so if you get a chance, that'd be fun to hear. It's a fun show.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Cool.
So, how did you discover the Avett Brothers?
That so I first heard the song I and Love and You.
Hmm.
I think I first just like heard it back when MTV still played music or like MTV2. It was like,
Yeah,
oh, this is a new band, up and coming, like college radio kind of thing. Because at first, the Avett Brothers, I think they were marketed, at least, I don't know if it was by themselves or by whoever first signed them,
yeah,
as a little bit like this, like kind of like alternative Americana. Like they're cool because they did play a lot of like very like borderline punk music when they were teenagers.
hmm,
And so I think as they came up, they've just gotten more and more into that like Americana bucket. But
hmm,
I know that song, I heard it on like either college radio or like Sirius XMU or something like that. And I was like, oh, this is a really great song. And I just always liked that song. And I think I downloaded that album and then didn't really revisit them very much until a friend of mine from college, from Virginia Tech, she messaged me and she was like, hey, didn't you one time tell me that you thought the Avett Brothers were cool? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, well, you know that I'm like a big groupie. I've seen them like, 30 or 40 times, whatever. They're playing near you and I'm gonna go. Do you want me to get you a ticket? And I was like, sure. And she was like, they're playing 3 nights at Wolf Trap, which is like a beautiful, beautiful, it's like a national park here in Vienna, Virginia.
hmm,
And just the amphitheater, the Filene Center is gorgeous. I don't think they would ever, it was built probably in the 60s or 70s, and I don't think anybody would build a place like this again because it's just all made of wood and it's just a giant fire hazard probably, but it's just gorgeous. And she was like, "Well, they're going to play at Wolf Trap 3 nights." And I was like, "I'll go to like two. I
hmm,
don't want to spend 3 nights seeing a band I'm not sure that I'm going to really be that
yeah,
into." And it was amazing. It was like they have that is another fan base that's like they're really great, but a lot of them are like MAGA. A lot of them are like Southern and just like really they also listen like they found the Avett Brothers through country music or they found
yeah,
the Avett Brothers in a way that I didn't.
yeah,
So there's a lot of people that certainly like I think that fan base is like very, very cool. They're all like very family, like it's a big family. But
hmm,
uh, like I just have trouble relating to a lot of them, so I never became like really friendly with a lot of the fans. I usually go see them by myself,
yeah,
which I go to a lot of concerts by myself. I go see Bright Eyes by myself. I went to see The Lonely. I went to see Lil Nas X by myself. I went to see Lizzo. Oh no, somebody came with me, but I'll
yeah,
go to like if there's a band I like or I want to see,
Yeah.
Like the when the Postal Service just Death Cab for Cutie tour
Yeah.
last year, I was like, none of my friends like this. Like I have a lot of friends who just don't like the same music as me. A lot of my friends listen to metal and only listen to punk. And
Yeah.
so I just go to concerts by myself all the time. So I have since like that friend has stopped going to Avett Brothers shows so much. So
Mhm.
I just go by myself now, and then I just have trouble like relating to a lot of their fans. But they seem like a very cool community
Yeah.
if you're into the same stuff they are.
Yeah. I know that Jason has been very vocal. A lot of,
Yeah.
his fans have been, hey, just stay away from politics. And he's like,
Yes.
I don't care, you
Yeah.
know.
He's
Yeah.
great. I like his music and I've never seen him live, but
Yeah.
he's on my like wish list of people to go see because mostly because when Twitter was cool,
Yeah.
I followed him and I just thought he seemed like an awesome person.
Yeah.
And I forget what I think he had oh, you know what? He had some interactions with Stephen Page from Barenaked Ladies on
Mhm.
Twitter where they were both saying some really lefty things. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, one of my favorite artists is talking to this other artist who people say is great. And then I
Mhm.
started following him and then I was like, oh, he is a great
Yeah.
person.
He is a really good songwriter
Yeah.
and has said a lot of great things about Bruce. And so this will, I think you will appreciate this. My wife and I were going to do a vacation, and she wanted to go back to Kentucky.
Mm.
We really love the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. It's a
Oh, cool.
beautiful area and it's really fun. And she's like, "Hey, I wouldn't mind going like before it gets hot. So maybe March or April."
Hmm.
So Jason Isbell's playing in Bowling Green, Kentucky. I
Yeah.
planned the whole vacation so that on the way home we could get and see the show.
Yeah.
And my
That's so
wife looks at
funny.
me like,
That's funny because last year when Matt came for Bramblefest,
yeah,
I basically like guilted him into staying like 2 extra days so we could go see the Decemberists because I was like, you haven't seen them. It'll be my 25th show. It'll be momentous. We've got to do this. It's only like a couple hours away. He was just like, okay, we'll
that's
do it.
funny.
So I
That's
made him
great.
change. I don't think he had to change his flight, but he planned his flight based on
That's awesome. Uh,
my addiction to live music.
so Cece, what have I not asked you that I should?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I don't know if if you've, went drinking with members of the Barenaked Ladies
Oh
or
my
a
gosh.
story that we haven't mentioned.
I will say with Barenaked Ladies, the great thing about them, so the first few times that we met them outside of
Hmm.
shows, I always, and I do this with pretty much everybody I meet who's like famous, quote unquote,
Yeah.
or like an artist. I'm just always like, hi, my name is Cece. Hi, my name is Cece. Just because I want them to know my name. So like some great things were, after like 4 or 5 nights, they're like, hello, your name is Cece. We know a couple of the guys in the band are just like, "Hello, Cece. We know." And then like my ex, maybe like 10 years ago, I had always told him like, "Hey, I like Bare Naked Ladies knows me. Bare Naked Ladies like knows who I am." Like just like humble brag, but
Sure.
like I've seen this band so many times, they know my name. And it
Right.
was one of the first times I saw them without Stephen Page, but they were playing in DC at a theater that I really love, like an old-timey U Street, like the Duke Ellington era of like U Street in DC was really big with like jazz in the old days. So I was like, oh, they're playing this beautiful theater and like I want to go. Let's go. And I was just like I kept looking at tickets and I was like, I'm really spoiled with
Okay.
like seating. So I was like, there's only like stuff in like the eighth row or the 10th row. I'm like, so one day I go on, I'm like, oh my God, 2 seats in the front row opened up. Like we're going. I just bought them. We're going, take the day
Yeah.
off work, whatever. We're going. And we went and we sat there and I was just like, I don't know. I don't know if I can get into this without Stephen Page because he was my favorite member of the band when he was in the
Yeah.
band and whatever. So they started playing a fast song, maybe like 3 or 4 songs in. So we like stand up and we're like dancing or whatever. And then they're like Ed Robertson just walks over to the microphone. He goes, "Oh my God, everybody, Cece is here." And
Oh,
my boyfriend at the time was like, "Oh my God, they do know you. Like they
yeah.
know who you are." And I was like, "I told
Told you. I told
So
you.
that was like a great moment for me and my ego to just be like, I told you so. They know who I am. So that was great. I got to back right. I don't know if it was right before Stephen Page left Barenaked Ladies or right after. I think it was right after he played a
Mm,
solo show at a winery in Ontario.
okay.
That was like a really cool show because we got to take like a winery tour. And at the time, I was really close friends with his now wife. And so me and my cousin got to have dinner with him and his now wife, who was his girlfriend at the time. That was really cool. So we got to eat in this like really swanky, like artists lounge kind of thing of this winery in Ontario. So it was really cool. And we carry that they're one of their wines at work now. So I'm like always trying to sell people like, oh, try this ice wine from Ontario.
Oh, how
I've been
funny.
there. So that was a really cool experience. Just I don't know, like I just love like getting to meet the band and just like I feel like a lot of people are just like, oh my God, you're so great. Oh my God. And I'm just like, what's up? I'm just kind of the person who's like, they're just human beings. And so I really enjoy just getting to interact. And I'll like try to think of like stupid, weird questions to ask them. Like, hey, did you ever see that episode of like The Office where this happened? And they're like, you waited out here to ask us this? And I'm like, yeah, man. Like, I just want to talk to you about some normal stuff. And people will just, they're like, oh, do you think you could play this song and stuff? And I'm just like, what's up? House tour. So I've really enjoyed that. I really enjoy just like getting to know them as people.
Yeah.
So I've gotten that chance with like Steven and his wife and
That's cool.
yeah, and I think like John Darnielle from the Mountain Goats is also like very down to earth, very cool. Once you get to know like some stuff about him, he's just a
Yeah.
really cool person to talk to. So I think
One
that's
of
great.
the,
Yeah,
I always think of that if I ever got the chance to talk to Bruce or someone from the E Street Band, or anytime I have someone, you know, I want to ask them the questions they don't get asked all the time, right?
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're, you just want to give them a chance to talk about something they love,
Yeah.
right?
And I never want to be, I mean, like, I think it's not about like I don't want to stroke their ego or anything, but like they're just people.
Right.
Like I think that's the biggest thing is like I think they enjoy that I'm not like, oh my gosh, tell me about this equipment or
Yeah.
tell me like there are a lot of people with and Stephen Page loves to talk about equipment, but he has Q&As like once a month on his Patreon and people will just ask the same questions over and over.
Yeah.
Like tell me what you were thinking about when you wrote this song and
Yeah.
like I'm sure he likes talking about it, but also he's answered it like 75 times just on
Yeah.
those Q&As. Like on the same Q&As, like new members will ask the same questions that old members have already asked. And but like I just like to be like, hey, did you watch this TV show? Hey, have
Yeah.
you watched Severance or like Heated
Yeah.
Rivalry or whatever TV
Yeah.
show I'm watching right now? Like, have you seen it? What do you think? Or hey, how about this, thing like news current events?
Yeah.
I just rather talk about something normal with them.
Sure. All right.
Yeah.
This has been so much fun. I
Yeah,
hope
it
you've had a
has.
blast.
Yeah.
By the way, shout out to the double deckers. Hopefully,
Yeah.
they're all listening to this.
Mm-hmm.
And see, it's painless, guys. Join me. We can have a lot of fun. If someone wants to reach you, what's the best way?
Probably the best way to reach me is now probably on Threads at
Okay.
Kissing Counts or on Instagram at Kissing Counts.
Okay.
That's pretty much my name everywhere except I screwed up my TikTok. So now on TikTok I'm Kissing Counts 1. But yeah, and if you want to if anybody ever wants to talk about perfume, that's my current obsession.
How did that happen?
How did it happen? I don't really remember. Sheesh. I don't think I even really just I think like one day I was like, you know what? I just usually wear like unscented lotion and deodorant. I'm gonna like wear some perfume today or like and it just became to where I just joined. I think once you let the algorithm,
Okay.
there's this Facebook trial going on right now in the current events, but like once you let the algorithm on Facebook know that you're interested in anything,
Right.
they're going to just send you ads. They're going to send you, oh, you should join this group. Oh, you should follow this person. And I think they were like, you should join this group called Fragrance Junkies. So shout out to the Fragrance Junkies on Facebook. I started following that group. That group is a little bit snobby for me. No offense to the Fragrance Junkies, but they definitely are more into like niche fragrances,
Mhm.
not so much designer fragrances, which designer fragrances are like expensive enough as it is. So they're really into like the $300-400 bottle fragrances. But from there, I
And that, you
found
know how many concert tickets that is, right?
I know. Like I could go see whoever, the Decemberists 2, 3 times.
Yeah.
So I found my people though. I found
Mm.
the people who like the Middle Eastern fragrances, which are just a better value. And I found the people who were into like the indie brands, which are a lot of like young girls coming up, just learning how to make perfumes. Or there's a lot of debate in that community about like fragrance oils versus aroma chemicals and all this stuff. But
Mhm.
you know, I don't care as long as I smell good.
Okay.
So I that's just how I ended up in that world. And I think I spend almost as much money on concert tickets now as I do on perfume. So
Very nice.
yeah, unfortunately, it's not great for my bank account, but it's fun.
I get it. That's nice. Well,
Yeah.
I have loved talking to you, and I look forward to the homework you send me,
Yeah.
the Avett Brothers songs, and then we'll schedule a time for you to come back and we can talk about them, okay?
Yeah, great.
And I will look forward to interacting with you on the
Awesome.
double decker. Stay safe. Listeners, go ahead and check out our Instagram and, follow up for some perfume advice. And everyone be safe, be kind, and we'll talk to you soon. Goodbye. Thank you for listening to this episode of Setlisting Bruce. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll check out other episodes of the podcast. Before we wrap up, I've got a few quick housekeeping notes on how you connect with me and follow my other projects. I'm still on Twitter, aka X, at Jesse Jackson DFW. The show is also there at Setlisting Bruce. We've got a Facebook page both for me and the podcast, so please stop by and give us a like. I'm part of a few other podcast adventures as well. On Perfectly Good Podcast, my co-host Sylvan and I are talking about every John Hyatt song in alphabetical order. Both Setlisting Bruce and Perfectly Good Podcast are proud members of the Pantheon Podcast Network, home to hundreds of music faux shows. So explore, there's something there for every fan. My good friend Charles and I continue to do deep dives into all things Doctor Who on Next Stop Everywhere. And Lou, Karen, and I are chatting about pop culture and The Expanse on JKL Media. I'd love to hear from you. Email me at setlistingbruce@gmail.com. You can also leave a voicemail, 469-249-2442. If you've enjoyed any part of this podcast, please head over to iTunes and leave a rating or review. If you listen on Spotify, you can leave a comment after each episode. I will read them and share them on the show if you'll let me. They truly do help other people find us. Tell me what you like, tell me what you don't, suggest someone you think would be a great guest. Getting to talk to people about their experiences, whether it's music or other creative passions, is one of my greatest joys. I hope these conversations bring you a little joy, a little peace, and a whole lot of love. Keep hope alive.